Hi, everybody. Welcome to Grab Your Keys. I'm very excited to have Michael Silverman here today of Silver Lining Insurance. Michael, welcome to Grab Your Keys.
Thank you so much for having me.
Tell us a little bit about how you got into the business that you're in and what you do.
Well, I am, as technically as we can put it, I'm an insurance guy.
Right.
That's what I do. I sell insurance of all different types: personal insurance, commercial insurance, life and health, property and casualty, every single type you can imagine. We have it in our repertoire.
And how long have you been selling insurance?
I don't like to admit this
Right.
publicly, but it was just 38 years a couple of weeks ago.
Wow, I'm in the 30s also. So
But I will tell you, I love what I do for a living.
that's important.
I happen to also be third generation in the business in my family.
Wow.
So it really is a family kind of thing. I wish my grandfather and my father were still in the business. They're not anymore. My grandfather's long since passed. My dad is long since retired.
Right.
But we have a great team here. We have some fun doing it. And I've always said, let's be realistic. We're not curing cancer. Right. We're selling insurance. We're protecting people, their lives and their assets. And what we say all the time is we protect what they value most.
And where do you do business?
We are actually licensed in all 50 states.
That's great.
So we have clients everywhere throughout the country. The great predominance of our business is the East Coast from Maine down to Florida. Okay. But we are all over.
How's everything going with insurance these days with the hurricanes and everything?
It has kept us busy.
Yeah.
Claims are what it's all about. Let's be realistic. We sell insurance, and anybody, and I've said this a million times, anybody can sell insurance. You need to be there for your client when there's a problem.
Right.
And whether it's a hurricane, a fire, an automobile accident, there are, oh my goodnesses, and there are small little things that happen. You got to be there for both.
Right.
And that's really the exciting part, because, we're touching people's lives.
Right.
And unfortunately, there are times that we get involved with people at the worst time. But then we get to hold their hand, get them through the process, and they get on with their lives.
I'm sure you learned a lot by being in a family business, by the different traditions and values that came from your father and your grandfather, because people who are in a generational business, a generational family business, really do take to heart and have a passion for the way that they conduct themselves and the way that they do business.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Reputation is everything. And, I'm proud to say we have 5th generation clients.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Which is so cool.
Yeah, it is so cool to do, generation upon generations business. I personally love when my clients, family members and children and grandchildren come to use me, because it really shows that they're giving you their most precious gifts, their family, and that they trust you enough to trust,
Absolutely,
their insurance to them, their mortgage to them, their health to them. And it's just it's a little thing, which is huge, because I think that relational community isn't there as much as it has been in other generations. I mean, sometimes people are just looking for the best price, and it's not always about the best price if you don't have tort insurance, or if you don't have, full tort. Right. Who's to say? You can get something better if your deductible's through the roof, but who's the one that's going to be there to guide you to be in the best situation when the worst happens?
And explain to you the pros and cons, ups and downs of the different coverages. Why do we recommend X, Y, and Z versus ABC?
Right.
And we have these conversations all the time. And, very simply, I'll make a recommendation. If the client wants to go in a different route, We have those conversations. Just want to make sure that you are making decisions with all the data,
Right.
not with assumptions.
Exactly.
No.
And not water cooler.
Right.
Yeah. So, what do you feel are your 3 keys to success?
Well, relationships are everything.
Yeah.
That's number one. You know,
How do you build those relationships?
it
How do
takes
you
time. It takes time. It's being trusted as an advisor. It's being there for people when there's a problem, you know, and knowing when to say nothing.
Right.
You know, I joke because I truly believe I am best when I'm working with friends and family.
Right.
Because who do I want to help more than friends and family?
No one.
So there have been many, many, many times over the last 35, 38 years that my wife and I will be out to dinner with friends and they happen to be clients. And someone will say to my wife, "Oh my goodness, did you hear about?" And every time she goes, "No, I haven't. What are you talking about?" And that's because I don't tell her.
Right.
Because it's none of her business.
Right. It's confidential.
It's confidential information. It's private. If these people tell her, that's their business.
Right.
You know,
So
it's
I'm
interesting.
a daughter of a lawyer, so I totally
Okay.
get that.
Okay.
So we, people are always like, "Oh, did your dad tell you that I went to see him today?" And I'd be like, "No."
Nope.
First off, I don't talk to my dad absolutely every day. And second off, he wouldn't tell me. We grew up with, him not telling me that my dad had a case 100, like literally when I was in high school, or actually I was in college, but he represented 60 kids from like a party that they had. And one dad didn't want this case to be settled. And to this day, 30 plus years later, I don't know who that dad was.
And that's
And
the
I
way
was
it's supposed
like,
to be.
I'm like, who's the dad? Come on, dad. Who is the dad that held out with those 60 kids? And he's like, can't
Nope.
tell you.
Nope.
Can't tell you. Just can't tell you. So that's really important, that confidential piece. So do you think it's relationships, is being confidential in the relationships, or is that another key?
That's part of the relationships. You know,
Part of the
I
relationship.
work with a lot of, as I say, generational. So
Right.
if the parents are my friends and my clients, and now their kids are getting their own cars, getting their own homes and apartments, life insurance, I make it abundantly clear to the next generation when we're having conversations. Listen, we're going to talk about a lot of things. A lot of it's going to be personal. You might think I even know it already because
Yeah.
I've known you since you're little. We're going to talk, but please know nothing you and I talk about goes back to your parents.
Right.
What you tell them we talked about is your business. It's important. You know, it's also having the knowledge and the wherewithal to know when you don't have the knowledge.
Is that the key number 2?
I think so.
That's a
I
great
think so.
key.
I
Knowing when you don't know.
love saying to someone, "I don't know. Let me find out." That's okay.
That no one has ever said that key. And I've been doing this for 2 years. That is a huge key, because not only when you say, "I don't know that answer, let me get that to you," that also gives you a reason to call them back to show that you've done what you say you're going to do.
Right. Now you have to do it. You got to do what you say you're going to do.
Right.
And that's probably the third part. Always do what you say you're going to do. You know, if you're going to get back to me on Tuesday, get back to me Monday afternoon or Tuesday, not Tuesday at the end of the day, or Wednesday.
Right.
You know, what's the phrase? Under promise and over deliver.
Right.
You know, and my team, we talk about this all the time. Put yourself in the prospect or the client's shoes. How do you want to hear from me? And it's interesting because a number of years ago, the old adage, treat others as
you
you
would.
want to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
No, we threw it away. We threw it out. We changed it. It's treat others the way they want to be treated.
Right.
So I am nearly 60 years old. I use email. I use text. I use that. And I love email. I use text. But you know what? A 24-year-old doesn't want to use email. They want to use text.
That's exactly right.
So what we do when we onboard a new client for whatever product, portfolio, one or many, they get a call from someone on our team, and we outline just to make sure everything is as expected. And one of the questions is, how would you like us to communicate with you?
Yeah, that's great.
Now, there are times that they say text. Great. No problem. Goes into our system. We text the person. But if we do need to send something via email because we need an e-signature or something like that, and we tell them this in advance, we're going to send you a text. Please check your email. We sent you something. Because they're not checking their emails. And that's okay. But others want a phone call. Great. Got it. We're ready to go. Others want texts, emails, whatever. We ask.
Yeah, and using your phone is so important. Do you keep all your contacts and clients in your phone?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know who they are when they call.
You mean my lifeline?
Yeah, your lifeline.
Absolutely. I mean, we talk all the time about, and lately it's been all over. Maybe it's because we talk about it here, but all over various social media. In the 80s and 90s, we did this. Our kids will never say, I joke with my team because, yes, I'm the oldest one on the team.
Me too.
What are the sounds my grandchildren will never hear? A busy signal and a dial tone.
Yeah.
We talk about that kind of stuff. Okay. Now, does that affect insurance? No. You know what it affects? Interpersonal relationships. Conversation. We're people.
Yeah. Or I always tell my children, like, I went to school in Virginia. Driving home from Virginia, my parents made me stop. Probably not the safest thing to do, but my parents at times would make me stop along the way to tell them, call from a payphone, that I am halfway there.
Right.
I'm, up 95. I was stopping at like the Maryland house, the Chesapeake house, the Delaware house, like all up the corridor. And they're like, what do you mean you stopped? Because we didn't have, we're dating ourselves, but or the collect telephone call. Remember when you would have like a code that you would put in the phone to charge it back to like the phone you were calling? They'll never know that you had to like at times remember like 16-digit numbers.
No, when I was a little kid, my mother and I still joke about this. When I was a little boy, and there were no play dates then. She opened up the door and said, "Go play."
Right.
If I needed to be picked up from somewhere, now I was a little boy. I didn't have coins in my pocket or anything. I didn't have money.
Right.
I used to call collect from Michael Pickup.
Right. Yeah, or the bell, the bell would get rung for dinner, like you would hear. And I don't know how we all knew what bells were ours in our house.
Well, it's interesting in my neighborhood in Livingston, New Jersey,
right,
at 6:00 every night from the early 1900s, still today at 6 p.m., the fire department blows the horn.
Why?
It was originally for the farmers and all that kind of stuff.
To tell them it's time to come home.
Correct. And for us, that's the end of the game. Everybody runs home. When the horn went off, the siren, whoever's ball it was, they grabbed it and everybody went.
Yeah, now we're like, come down for dinner. We actually call when they're upstairs to come down for dinner.
Oh, no. It's not come down for dinner. It's come down for dinner.
Oh, no, because sometimes they don't see the text if they're doing something. So at my house, I actually have to call. So I actually call them on their cell phone. So, and I have 20-something. So, and they'll all be home for Thanksgiving. So that will be a full house.
That's the best part. Mine are in their 30s and I love it.
Yeah, lots of fun. So what's one of the challenges that you've faced that has shaped who you are today?
One of the challenges that has shaped me, like anything else, it's all about family.
Right.
And it's not even negative or positive. It's just what it is. For me, it's how was I raised? By mom, dad. I have 2 older sisters, so I'm
beat up.
What's that?
You got beat up with 2 older sisters.
But you know what? But now you have to understand something. I have a mom. I have 2 older sisters. I have a wife. I have 2 grown daughters. The dog was a female. There
Yeah.
wasn't a lot of testosterone in my dog. And my father and I still joke about that. But it shaped who I am.
Right.
And I think it has helped me tremendously in sales.
Right. For sure.
I think I care more.
Yeah, you have more empathy, you have more, experience, because you have your experience, but then you also have all the different family experiences. I say the same thing. I was just on a podcast yesterday, and I was like, my experience allows me to relate to my clients.
Of course.
And it's the vulnerability and being real, which makes you real.
Well, I agree with that. And I do something for myself. I take what I do, the insurance world, unbelievably seriously.
Right, of course.
Okay? I try, and I fail quite often, not to take myself too seriously.
Yeah, that's important.
You know what? I fail. But guess what? I get back on the horse and we go forward. I'm dealing with people that I love. I'm dealing with people that I care about. I am one of the lucky ones that when I go to work, I'm not going to work. I'm talking to people that I care about. I'm having fun. We do a lot of laughing here.
Yeah, that's so important. The laugh factor with a team, with a company, with your clients. I mean, it is so important in today's life to
the insurance
laugh.
companies.
Yeah.
I try to explain to people, everybody says, oh, the big bad insurance company, they don't want to pay claims. That's the furthest thing from the truth. Insurance companies are built to, in fact, pay claims.
Right.
They want to pay them properly. They want to pay within the parameters of the policy, but they're built to pay claims. And I explain to people all the time, insurance company adjusters or as much as we don't want to believe this, they're people too.
Right.
They have homeowners insurance.
Right.
They have life insurance, disability insurance, medical. So we have conversations around this because they're doing their job the same way as we are.
So how do you see your industry? I mean, we've had lots of change. We just talked about busy signals to texting your clients. Where do you see the industry of insurance evolving over the next decade?
Well, historically, the insurance industry in the evolution is 10 years behind the times.
Right.
For many, many years, in 1993, again, I'm dating myself, 1993, we were going to be paper free in 93.
Yeah, that didn't happen.
No more in 94. They brought that back in 03 and 04 too, by the way.
Right.
We're still not paper free.
Right.
But, for me, where's the industry going? It's got some ups and downs. The climate, the weather dramatically affects the insurance world. Why are Florida insurance rates so high? There are a lot of storms, but there's also legislative issues.
Right.
Why is California such a disaster? You got wildfires, you got earthquakes, you got this, you got legislative issues. What people have to remember is each state, insurance is not federally regulated. It's state to state. Makes a dramatic difference. People can live 2 miles apart from each other in different states and have different rules and regulations.
Right.
So that's what we look at. That's why we're always talking to our clients about what's new, what's coming down the pike. Now, there's not always dramatically new things, but companies try to come up with new opportunities, new ideas, new coverages, and things like that. Where's it going in 10 years? Who knows? I do know that it's going more online stuff. That's not getting rid of the agent.
Right.
But it's going to be more direct to consumer.
Right.
So
where do you see in your generational will continue to be in your family? Who's taking over? Who's coming in under you?
No one in the family yet.
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 Exactly right. My dad has a law firm, and he's still hoping his grandkids are someone's gonna take over some of it. Didn't work with the kids, and he's working through some of the grandkids, but there's still hope. He still holds out hope. What piece of advice do you tell people all the time?
Say please and thank you.
Yeah, that's so important.
First and foremost, say please and thank you, and do it right every time. If you can't do it right, say you can't do it yet.
Right.
Yet. Doesn't mean you can't do it. You can't do it yet.
Right.
It takes years to build a reputation. It takes years to build trust. It takes 43 and a half seconds to lose it.
Yep.
So I would rather say to someone, as I said earlier, I don't know, let me find out. Or I think this is the hardest word salespeople have, and most don't use it. No. It's a two-letter word. It's the easiest word in the English language. No. And also, salespeople have a tendency to forget the fact that God has provided us with 2 ears, 1 mouth, meaning listen twice as much as you speak.
Right. Correct.
Because that's where we learn everything. We learn from others by listening.
We do. We definitely do. You can learn a lot by listening. You hear what their goals are, what their aspirations are, especially in our industry, in both of our industries. If you could mentor your younger self, what advice would you give to young Michael?
Enjoy life along the way. You know, no one on their deathbed says, "Oh, I wish I worked more."
Right.
Enjoy, because why do I do what I do? To help others and to take care and protect my family. And
Right.
there's no one more important to me than my family. I want to spend as much time as humanly possible with my family. I had a unique opportunity this past weekend. My younger daughter got engaged.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were all together. Everybody was together. Now, she's fortunate, I'm fortunate, that she is so close with all her cousins. And guess what? Everyone from all over came in.
That's so great.
Because that's what's important.
Yeah, that is fantastic.
You know, if I could look back, it would be, don't not work, but enjoy the ride a little more.
So speaking of enjoying the ride, what's that picture behind you? What baseball field?
That is Shea Stadium. That is from the 1986 playoffs. Again, that happens to be the Houston Astros versus the New York Mets. And you can't see it from there, but I am actually sitting right there.
Wow.
And I will tell you, I was in college that year. It was October of 1986. I had a midterm the next morning. I was going to school in D.C. A bunch of us drove up, got tickets, went to the game, drove back. And to this day, I can tell you what I got on that midterm. And by the way, I'm willing to bet my mother still remembers what I got on that midterm.
I bet she does.
It was not a very good score.
Yeah. How did you like going to school in DC?
I loved it. I loved it.
It's a great place. I actually went to a concert at American dating myself, in the early 90s, and it was the Pet Shop Boys at American University.
Well, I went to George Washington.
Right.
And
it was right across the street, right? Is that right past town? So you went
right
to
around the corner, yep. And I loved it, but
I did not go to a concert at George Washington, but I was right across the center.
My first concert at GW was, you ready? UB40.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And for those of you listening to this podcast, look
them up. They're probably already remade some of their songs. So they probably, my kids are always like, how do you know the words to the song? I was like, the original one was like when I was in college. not when you're in college, but they like remake those. But going and I went to school right outside DC, and I just loved that you just could get to like so many great things, and it is a great place to go to a great place to go to college.
It's a great place to live, go to college, hang out, visit.
Enjoying life, because when you're in college, you're enjoying life.
But I am a true blue, diehard New Yorker.
Yeah, so you had to like, did you take the train to get to that game?
No, we drove.
Or you drove.
We drove.
Yeah.
We were a bunch of dumb 19, 20-year-olds.
Yeah, that was fun though. Yeah, you drove. You know that, so you knew that Carter that I was talking about very well.
I know every rest stop that you were talking about that you called your mother from. Yes. And just for the record, on that trip, none of us called our mothers.
Yes, of course. They probably barely knew that you were going. So what's in the future for Michael Silverman?
You know, the future, I don't care how far out you look. For me, the future's tomorrow.
Right.
I love what I do, but I am having more fun now than I've had in years in the business. So I'm not going anywhere. What's that?
You have to have fun.
Got to have fun. Yeah, you got to realize, again, what you do for a living. My sister, one of my sisters, an oncologist. She cures cancer. I learned very early on in my career from my grandmother. Do you know what this is?
An eraser.
Yes. Do you know why we have these? To fix mistakes. Everybody makes them. Everybody makes them. It's okay. Say oops and fix it. Curing cancer, you don't get an eraser.
Right.
We're selling insurance for a living. And if you can admit your error, you're way ahead of the game.
I agree.
And everybody makes them. And I am totally good if anybody on my team says, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, I made a mistake. I'm going to fix it.
Yeah. So I always tell everybody when I make a mistake, it is a huge mistake. And I have to come out and I have to be like, oh, it's that one time a year that I make a big one. And we have to all figure out how to fix it. So, but it's also when you make a mistake, you can take the eraser and you can figure out how you make it right.
But you got to own it. You got to own it. Own the error. And by the way, the best part of making a mistake is learning from it.
Right.
Don't make it again. That's what my grandmother used to say. Erasers are there for a reason. Just don't wear it down on the same mistake over and over. Yeah. That was a great lady.
Yeah.
She had some great one-liners, and
you pass that down with being with your family and having the clients that you have, because they all have that same, they all get that same energy, and that's super. I love everything that you've said. It's been an amazing time spending with you. I love the 3 keys of relationship building, knowing when you don't know, which is also part of saying no. Correct. And also part of, making the mistake and erasing it. And then do what you say you're going to do is, fabulous tidbits and nuggets. So thank you so much, Michael, for spending time with us today on Grab Your Keys. How would people get in touch with you if they wanted to reach out to you?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I had a blast. Love to come back.
Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, can always go to our website, www.slia.agency for Silver Lining Insurance Agency. Email, text. I'm sure we'll put all my contact information in. But we're also on all social media platforms between X and Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. Yes, we're there.
You have to be branded. You have to brand yourself. So yeah, I absolutely love, the branding of it and being on all those platforms. Connect with Michael. We loved having you, and everyone share and like and tell your friends about Grab Your Keys, and we'll see you next time on Grab Your Keys.